Hi, I'm Caroline.
And I'm Adrienne.
And this is Scandal Sheets. Hello and welcome to Scandal Sheets, the podcast that explores the salacious people and places of the past. I am your host, Caroline.
And I'm Adrienne.
And today we are coming to you with the story of Alma Mahler, who, interestingly enough, was married to the famous Viennese composer Gustav Mahler.
Yes.
For only a few years, and then subsequently married two other men.
Famous men.
Still ended up going by Mahler. That's how we know her.
Well, but she did have three last names for all three men, although she was only with Gropius for a hot minute.
Right. And so, yes, why we are doing Alma is because she was married for a hot minute to famous modernist architect Walter Gropius. Mm-hmm. So she's a bit of a difficult person to talk about. You can't root for her because she is just, well, let's break it down with history.
Okay.
So the famous composer Richard Strauss said that she had, quote, the inferiority complexes of a dissolute female.
What is dissolute?
Somebody who has no morals.
Ouch.
Yep.
Okay.
One of her acquaintances...
Is he just jealous?
Maybe. One of her acquaintances described her as, quote, the worst human being I ever knew.
Oh, no.
And the wife of Austrian writer Friedrich Torberg, Mariette, described her as a grande dame and at the same time a cesspool.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cesspool.
Yeah.
I've never heard of a person being described as a cesspool, although I can think of some.
Right. Exactly.
I might have to start using that.
I know. She's such a cesspool. He's such a cesspool. It's like blatherskite. I've decided that that's my new word for insulting people.
Cesspool
is pretty good, though.
It's easier to say. So, in the office, we decided that people whose names have S's in them are good for if you really are angry at them. Like, Dennis.
Oh, because you can hiss.
Yeah, so you can really emphasize the S in certain names. Thanks a lot, Steven. You know, it's just a good... it's a good way to...
Get your
really
anger out.
Stick it to them.
Right. So, Alma, she was Alma Schindler.
Oh.
That was her maiden name.
Okay, I did not know
So
that.
now we can go Alma Schindler.
Alma Schindler.
Yeah.
I think it works better if although Steven was good. Dennis.
And Steven.
I think it's better if the name ends with the S.
Agreed. Well, some of her biographers have concluded that she suffered from hysterical personality disorder.
Which is not even a thing. It's what sexist people just say about women. Hysteria. I mean, that's why some women were committed because they were hysterical.
Yeah, but this does have a specific definition attached to it because it's characterized by the inability to experience true emotions. Essentially, she was addicted to being a muse. And she did a great job of reflecting what men wanted to see in their ideal woman.
Okay.
Until she got tired of it, moved on, which happened fairly frequently.
It did, and it would also describe the importance or acclaim of the men that she was with, or her attraction to them.
Yeah, she seemed to always be attracted to great men, and she actually even wrote to many of them that as they assumed more greatness, then her stature was improved by that.
She must have seen something in them as well, because Gropius in particular, they didn't meet until 1910, and he was nothing that, I mean, he went on obviously to establish the Bauhaus, but he didn't finish college. I'm kind of going into my story a little bit. I'll get into it later, but it is interesting that he wasn't already a starchitect. She must have seen greatness in him. So I think that's interesting, like her clear ability to identify someone that could become great.
Right. So let's just go ahead and dive in. Alma Margareta Maria Schindler was born on August 31st, 1879 in Vienna, which should be noted. Vienna was very, I would say, equal to and maybe even a little bit better than Paris at this time. It was really a culture center. Many of the many classical composers that we think of today, lived in or were from Vienna. I mean, it's called the fin de siècle.
Fin de siècle.
Yeah.
It's known for its sausages.
Yes. And beer. And apple strudel.
I've never been to Vienna. I've always wanted to go.
Hopefully I will be there come December. So.
Oh, nice. Is that one of your little offshoots of the London trip?
Yeah, London, Vienna, and Prague, hopefully.
That's a lot to fit in.
That's how we roll.
Just doing, just trying to fit in Stuttgart and Prague was exhausting.
Yeah, we usually are. We come back from...
Yeah, you need a vacation
from our vacation.
When you're... Yes.
Exactly. So her father was the famous landscape painter Emil Jacob Schindler. He was patronized by the Viennese royal court, in particular Crown Prince Rudolph, who scandalously committed suicide in a suicide pact with his mistress.
Oh.
Several years later.
That's weird.
Yeah. Emil Jacob Schindler was actually incredibly creative. He was known for playing the piano and he had a fine singing voice. In fact, it led to a brief career in opera. And that's where he met his wife and Alma's mother, Anna Sophie Bergen, who was, of course, 15 years younger than him.
Aren't they all?
Yes. A part of his patronage from Prince Rudolph, the family often traveled to the Adriatic coast where he was doing a series of paintings.
Oh.
So, yes, Croatia. Yeah.
I would love to see those paintings.
Yeah, they're online. You can look them up.
Oh my gosh.
And the family included a second daughter named Greet eventually. Although there was later suspicions that she was not actually
his daughter.
Right. Because Anna Sophie was not very faithful. She was generally conducting an affair with one of his students at various times. So,
well, when you have somebody that's 15 years younger than you,
right,
they may want the student as opposed to the teacher. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So Emil loved both of his daughters, though. So he either did not realize that the second daughter was not his, or he just didn't care. But he idolized Alma in particular, which could be an indication of him knowing. He made sure both of them were very well educated beyond, the basic female subjects. He sent them to private school so they would have a better education.
Was it local or did he send them away somewhere?
It was a private school locally, I believe. I don't think they were sent away.
Okay.
He would read Goethe to Alma, and he also had them tutored by some of the best pianists and composers in Vienna. So
they grew up with music in the house.
Right.
And art, I guess.
And art.
Yeah.
I think it was probably a very bohemian lifestyle.
Yeah, and if he had students coming in and out of the house.
Right, exactly. And one of her biographers said that because her mother was engaged in other pursuits, Alma almost took on the role of the wife to some extent.
Oh, sure.
And that's why they were so incredibly close. And so when Alma was 13, so this is 1892, Emil died suddenly.
Oh, no.
Of what they believe was appendicitis. Alma was devastated by this and psychologically probably pretty scarred, as we know
right.
that what she ends up
because it sounds like she has more of an absentee mother.
Right. Anna Sophie rebounded within 2 years with the former student that she had been conducting an affair with named Karl Moll. They got together and married and he was one of the founders of the secession movement, which was basically getting away from established like Royal Academy type art.
So what kind of artist was he?
I didn't really...
Musician or painter?
He was a painter.
Okay.
Yeah. They hosted a very popular salon.
Oh.
And attracted lots of bohemian people. And Alma learned pretty early on, I think, to become a determined flirt. She was known as one of the most beautiful women in Vienna, so she didn't have any problems attracting male attention. In the late 1890s, so when she was probably around 17, she entertained a flirtation with Gustav Klimt, who apparently was desperately in love with her. And when he did
not reciprocate.
Yeah, when he confessed this to her, she seemed to lose interest.
Yeah.
In 1900, she began studying composition with Alexander Zemlinsky.
Musical composition.
Right. And they fell in love, but kept the relationship secret, which I imagine was probably part of the reason why she liked it, just knowing what I know about her. Mm-hmm. Even at 21, she had developed some rather horrible character traits. She was supposedly in love with him, but she would tease him about his ugly features, basically calling him, ugly and short. Right. And she also apparently told him that if they married, then she would be forced to bring, quote, short, degenerate Jew children into the world.
Get out.
Yeah.
That is not nice at all.
Verbally and emotionally abusive, table for one. This is a strange thing. She's definitely known as a dedicated anti-Semite. Mm-mm. Yet she did not shy away from dating and even marrying people of the Jewish faith. Yeah. And some of her biographers think that it was her attempt to cleanse them and convert them to her Aryan ways. Mm-mm. Yeah. She, of course, was one of those folks who later on said that she believed that the Holocaust was completely made up. So, yeah. Yeah. So, maybe she really was the worst human being that some people ever met. Fortunately for Zemlinsky, he finally woke up and smelled the coffee. And by 1901 had begun to distance himself from Alma, but didn't really bother her very much because she quickly had become entranced by the Viennese composer Gustav Mahler, who she met in November of 1901. Actually, okay. November 7th was when they first met at a house party. And by November 28th, he had proposed to her.
Wow.
So less than a month.
That's fast.
Yep. And of course, her parents or her mother and stepfather were a bit concerned that it was too fast and that he was 19 years older than her. So they were kind of discouraging her from this. There was also rumors that he had Jewish origins, so maybe she got her anti-Semitism from her raising, apparently, and that he was suffering from an incurable illness and was completely impoverished. Although at the time, he was the director of the Viennese court opera. So
that's no small thing.
No, not at all. But she ended up accepting his proposal, and on December 12th, she apparently wrote Zemlinsky and decided that, she probably should formally end it with him. And he was like, bye, Felicia.
Good riddance.
So in March of 1902, Alma married Mahler, who just before their marriage, wrote her a 20-page letter in which he set out his guidelines for their future life.
Oh, okay.
And specifically requested that she abandon her composition work because she was writing music.
Would she have interfered with him? So he was that intimidated that he's going to tell her not to. Because if she was bad, right, I feel like he would have said, oh, that's so cute.